We had a pretty severe accident in 2022. Really, it wasn't an accident. It was on purpose. People had broken into our hotel room and injured me, and I had 10 stitches in my head, and just it was a very traumatic time for us.
It was a very traumatic time, but also it was, a time where even though we had this planned attack against us and things were stolen from us, there were injuries involved to more than one member of our team. In spite of all of that, the Lord really showed himself faithful. I have a wonderful testimony about how, God just imparted that peace that passes understanding to me. And ministry still went on. And it was on like the news, on the radio, and people heard about it and they became curious, And so what the enemy was intending for evil, God really turned around and used it for something good. I think we saw more people come. When we went back, new opportunities that, we've never had before to meet people and other churches, and more opportunities for ministry have begun to open up to us.
It's true. When something like that happens, as horrible as it was, the enemy always overplays his hand. And so what the enemy tried to use to destroy us, God is using to amplify what he's already done. And so we're seeing that because of the call that's on our life, and because we wouldn't stop, and because they couldn't keep us from continuing to do what God had called us to do, we're seeing greater things than we'd ever seen before. Because people look at us differently and they say, they mean what they say. Because if they could overcome that, then there's nothing that can stop them. And so we didn't have to say it. We just had to live out what God called us to do. And it's the same thing with you. If you just do what God's called you to do in the face of all adversity, God will exalt you. He said he'd exalt you in due time. And it's our job to stand fast. It's our job to resist the devil. It's our job to cast our cares upon the Lord. And it's his job to exalt us in his time. If we do what he calls us to do, no one can stop us. So when we came back from that trip, the Lord, I was distraught. Our home church was closed down when we came back.
Yes.
And so
we didn't have a church home to go to. We were excited to go to our church home and share with our friends and our family and the people who helped us to get to Africa, and we really didn't have a place to do that. And it was a very unsettling time when we came back. Almost felt out of place.
And I was excited to come home and share again all the things that God had done. And so it was a very difficult time. I didn't know what we were going to do. And so as we were going through that, I'm asking the Lord, what do you want me to do? And where am I supposed to be? And how do I fit in? I'm not in Africa. I'm in Tulsa. So what do I do? And the Lord spoke very clearly to me. He said, I want you to be who you are, where you are. And it's a very important message for all of us to understand that, you may have something that God has called you to in the future, and you can get so caught up in looking at that you're missing out on living the life that he has for you right now. And he just wants you to be who he called you to be, right where you are, and be content that he is working in your life right now. And he'll continue to do it. All we have to do is be obedient. And so that's why I'm asking for your prayers, is because we realize that there's something that God's called us to, and there's a transition we're going through, but that we would, in the midst of all of that, be who he's called us to be. That we wouldn't be, overwhelmed by the things that we believe God is saying, but that we would stay in peace, we'd be able to walk with him and be who he's called us to be through all of it. And Teresa talked a little bit about what happened there in 2022 when, we were attacked. Probably in the immediate days, probably maybe a week after that, people just began to pour into our ministry. The very next day, I received a text from our friend Ziggy Sanchez, and he said, "I'm here with the elders. Whatever they took from you, we're replacing it today. By the end of the day today, you'll have whatever they took from you." And he did that. But it didn't stop there. I had people that I hadn't talked to in 20 years, 30 years, maybe even more than that were reaching out and saying, "How can we get finances to you? How can we help you?" People began to share it on Facebook. People were talking about it. And, in just the immediate days after that, we received more than $10,000. And we were able to do more than what we had even planned to do. As when we were attacked, we said, well, they stole all the cash that we had on hand. And we just thought, well, we'll just scale things back. We'll do things a little bit smaller than what we had planned to do. It'll still be okay. And we did end up cutting our trip a little bit shorter than we had planned. We were going to be about 6 weeks over there, and I think we were there almost a month anyway that
yes,
we were there.
Close to a month.
But we had planned to go ahead and go to another country, and we declined that part of the trip and decided to go back just slightly early. But other than that, what we were able to accomplish in Kenya was more than what we had planned to do. And I believe it paved the road for what we're seeing now.